What up, friends? Welcome to the kitchen. So, I'm originally from Ohio. I lived in Florida probably all my formidable years and moved to North Carolina when I was 27, but I did live in Ohio till I was 11. All my family's from Ohio, so I'm going to introduce you to something that whenever I talk to anybody about it in North Carolina or in Florida about eating this dish, everyone looks at me cross-eyed. So I'm going to make cornmeal mush today. So in the Midwest, cornmeal mush is a staple, probably still today. If you go to Bob Evans' restaurant where you're at, they have fried cornmeal mush. Now they deep fry it, but it's a little different. I am going to fry it. This is going to be, I'm going to make the recipe now, then I'm going to cut out and come back in, and then I'll be cooking it actually tomorrow morning. But cornmeal mush is just like what it sounds. It's cornmeal, plain cornmeal. It's a little bit of salt, a little bit of sugar, and a little bit of butter, and away you go. And it basically, some people call it polenta. You can call it polenta, I guess, if you want. Polenta normally, I'm going to make mine into a brick and slice pieces off by putting it in the refrigerator and let it age overnight. A lot of people that do polenta, they'll add herbs and cheeses to it and serve it as a dinner. Yeah, it's okay that way too, but the way I love cornmeal mush, and I grew up eating it, my grandmother cooked it for me, my mother cooked it for me, is basically you let it get firm in the refrigerator overnight, you slice off pieces, and then in the morning I'm going to fry them in a little bit of vegetable oil very slowly, because cornmeal doesn't really like the brown. We're going to put a little butter in here, but we're also going to put butter in our pan tomorrow. But cornmeal in itself doesn't like the brown, and you don't want to hurry it. Plus, if you get it too hot and hurry it, it'll spatter all over the place. I'll go over that tomorrow. Okay, here's the key. Bring your water to a boil under medium heat, not a roaring flame. Just a medium heat. I'm actually, my water's probably going to boil here in probably less than 30 seconds. So I'm going to start adding the cornmeal now. You don't want to put cornmeal into a roaring boil. If you do, you're going to get hush puppies. And just slowly adding it and stirring. You know, I like to put a lot of recipes say bring it to a medium heat, bring it to a boil over medium heat. I prefer to get it before, that way it doesn't clump up on you. So again, I got 2 3/4 cups of water in here that I'm slowly bringing to a boil. Cornmeal, you can feel the cornmeal start to thicken up. I'm going to wait until that cornmeal, oh look, it's thickening right now. That's good. No clumping. Now, the next thing you want to do is have a cup of cold water. I just take a cup, put some ice in it, fill it a little over a cup, fill it a little over, and then you want to add the cold water to it. If you hear my cornmeal popping a little bit here, slowly adding the cold water. I don't know why you slowly add cold water like this, but because then you gotta let it slowly boil for 5 minutes. Somebody thought of it, and this is the best way they did it, I guess. So we're gonna stir this for 5 minutes on a slow boil. First, you know what? Maybe I should put the rest of the ingredients in. 3 tablespoons of butter, 1 teaspoon of sugar, 1 teaspoon of salt. Now we're going to continue to stir this till it starts to thicken up. And here I have, I believe it's an 8 or a 9x3 loaf pan, small loaf pan coated with a little avocado oil on the inside. And I'm going to pour it in there. I'm going to do something a little special I've never done before today, because it's just kind of been eating at me, and I just wonder if it'll work. Is in half of the pan I'm going to make normal cornmeal mush. In the other half I'm going to add blueberries to it. So what I'm going to do is pour in half of this and then put blueberries on one side and then pour the rest of it. And then I'll put it in the refrigerator. So I'm going to stir it for 5 minutes, and then I will add it to the loaf pan and put it in the refrigerator. All right, so it's getting kind of stiff on me. I'm probably around 3-4 minutes or something like that. And it occurred to me is, you know, how did this recipe come about? Well, it probably came about of necessity. I'm sure cornmeal was cheap. Water's obviously cheap. Did they put butter in it in the old days and a little bit of sugar and a little bit of salt? I don't know, but you know, who knows? But I can tell you this. When it was my brother and my mom and I, and it was just the three of us, and we were living in a very small place in Canton, Ohio, and my mom was trying to get by as a single mom. We ate a lot of cornmeal mush, and let me tell you, we thought we were living like kings when we had some cornmeal mush. So, here's what you do. Turn your burner off. Take your loaf pan. Get you a nice squeegee, which I just happen to have right here. And you put half of this in your loaf. Well, you could put all of it in your loaf pan if you're not going to add any fruit to it. But what I'm going to do is I have some fresh blueberries here. I'm going to add blueberries to half of it. Ooh, you won't get that on your finger. It's hot. And I'm hoping the cornmeal softens the blueberries up a little bit with the heat. And then I'm going to come in with the rest of the mixture. And that is how you make cornmeal mush. Now, I'm going to let this sit, let it cool down. I'll cover it, and I'll put it in the refrigerator before I go to bed tonight probably. And in the morning, it'll be a nice, firm brick. I'll turn it over, put it on the cutting board, slice some nice 1/4 to 3/8 pieces, put them in a little bit of oil with butter mixture, let them slowly cook, and then I'll put a little maple syrup on top of them, and they will be delicious. When you see me again, it'll be in the morning. Morning, everybody. Well, I got my cornmeal mush out of the refrigerator. Oh yeah, nice and firm. We're gonna try and drop it on this pan right here, or on this cutting board right here. First, I'm gonna give it just a little bit of help by trying to break the sides away, which doesn't seem to be an issue. Basically, pick it up. Nice tap. And there is the cornmeal mush on the cutting board, ready to go. Now, I got 2 knives here. I would stay away from a thick bladed knife, because what happens as you come through it, the cornmeal bonds to it, and it basically is like a suction cup. So if you have a thinner knife like this one, this is a fillet knife that I keep here, and we're going to try it. Now, I'm going to try the blueberry in first. I can't promise you anything here because I've never done this before, but I really wanted to try putting a little fruit in here. So I'm going to try and slice it just like anything else. You want to slice it a little thick, at least 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch. So here we go. Wish me luck. This is probably more like a 1/2 inch piece. Well, I'll take that. A nice sharp knife is going to really what you need. Awesome. Now, as I was thinking about this last night, I thought, man, blackberries or blueberries would be, blackberries or raspberries would be much easier because they're much easier to cut. So next time I probably won't use blueberries, but the berry filling did work. All right. Now I'm going to take a piece off the other side just so you can see both sides. And there's what it looks like. And it's kind of jealous, I guess. whatever that word is. I'm gonna fry that with these. Here I have vegetable oil in this pan, and it's been heating, so it should be ready with my retirement cup the girls got me at the company I worked for when I retired. Get that out of the way. And I'm gonna bring my cutting board over. And we're gonna try the piece first that has no berries in it. Oh, that's about perfect. You don't want to cook this hot. If you cook it hot, it's going to spatter all over the place, and you're going to wish you hadn't. And it's going to cool down pretty fast too. Yeah, there it goes. So the blueberries probably weren't the best idea, but we're going to go with it. Again, raspberries, blackberries. Now I'm going to bring my heat up just a little bit, and I'm like at a medium to low heat, but it's been sitting here for a long time. So I'm going to bring it up to about 4 maybe. And we're just going to let this cook. You want it a little bit hotter than this. When I get it to the temp I want it, I'll come back on and show it. But you want it a little bit hotter than this, and you just want to let it cook. It will brown. The butter in it will brown. So sometimes I put butter in the oil as well, but this time I didn't because I put a reasonably amount of butter in the cornmeal when I mixed it yesterday, which was 3 tablespoons. So we're going to let it go, let it come up a little bit hotter than this, let it fry, flip it. It's probably going to be 20 minutes, maybe 15, but when it's done, it'll be delicious. So this is how you want it cooking. It's not splattering all over the place. It's got a little bit of a boil down there to it, and it's just cooking nice and slow. One thing I didn't mention was try not to let the cornmeal mush touch each other because it will bond. We've been going right at about 13 minutes, and while I've been sitting here watching this, I've slowly been creeping the heat up, and you want to give it as much as it can take. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is, if it's so hot it's splattering all over your arms and burning you, it's too hot. If it's splattering just a little bit, it's probably perfect. You know, I have a little bit of residue around this pan, but it's totally manageable. That's where you want to keep it. Now, when I flip it, it might get a little hot. So I'm going to turn it down a little bit, and now I'm ready to flip. And the beauty of this pan is you can roll right up. Look at that nice brown. Oh yeah. Almost waited a little too long, but beauteous. So the centerpiece got a little brown, but that's the way I prefer it. I like my toast burnt pretty much, but it's really going to be delicious. So we're going to let it go about another 10 or 12 minutes. We're going to pull it off, and here you need to remember this if you try this recipe. Let it cool down. If you take this off here, put it on a plate, put some syrup on it, and bite into it, I guarantee you will burn your mouth. Cornmeal, because it's so dense with the water, it holds heat, right? Anything that's very dense that gets hot holds heat. Well, this cornmeal mush will hold heat for about probably 15 minutes. So you want to give it at least 5 minutes or so to get to cool down a little bit before you put your syrup on it. Okay, 25 minutes have passed. I think we're ready to plate. I turned my oven off. This stuff comes out of here really easy. You can actually pick it up if you're brave enough. All right, I'm gonna get me a photo for my thumbnail. I'm gonna put some maple syrup on here. Some homemade, not homemade, some fresh maple syrup, the real deal, I guess. And then I'm gonna eat it. So there you go. Cornmeal mush with berries, give it a shot. I think you'll love it. You know, whenever I think of cornmeal mush, I think of my mom and my grandma. They're the ones who cooked it all the time and introduced me and my brother to it. And it's delicious. So here we go. Look, Mom, clean plate. Look, Granny, clean plate. Please subscribe, like the video. I think it's an easy recipe to make. I think you should try it. And like Deer Meat for Dinner said, you fail at everything you don't try. So give cornmeal mush a shot. You're gonna like it. Take care.